Hi, my name is Caitlin Schneider, and I'm the Chief Historical Officer of Generation Connection, and today we're going to go over the history of Louis Zamperini. So Louis Zamperini was an Olympic runner. He ran distance, and he has a really interesting life. He was born on January 26, 1917 in New York to two Italian immigrants. They immigrated from Verona, which is in northern Italy, and he had an older brother and two sisters. He was born in just outside of New York City, but when he was two, his family decided to move to Long Beach, California area. There he had kind of a rough childhood where he was bullied because of his size and that he didn't know English until he learned it in the public school system. And he loved to box. He was quite an athlete. And to stop from getting into trouble, he joined the high school track team, and that's where he learned and really refined his natural gift for running. His brother was also a just natural distance runner, so it was really in their genetics. And he got involved in the 9th grade, and by the end of his first cross-country season, he finished 5th in the all-city division 600-meter dash. So he outran everyone as a 14-year-old almost. And he ran all summer. The last 3 years of high school, he actually went undefeated. His brother was also just a superb athlete, and he had set all of the records for the state and area in California that they were at, and he started beating him his junior year of high school. So in 1936, he decided to try out for the Olympics. The Olympics were different then, a lot less commercialized. Athletes had to pay their way to the Olympic trials, and they had to pay their way to get there for their training costs. You didn't get sponsored at this time, but his dad worked for the railroad, so he was able to get a free ticket, and he was able to fundraise money from his hometown of Torrance, California, for him to live once he got there. And he raced in the 1500, the 5000. At the Olympics, the 5,000 meter race was against the world record holder at that time, and everyone thought he was going to win. Zamperini finished 8th in the 5,000 meter, which is better than expected because there was a tight group of older, more experienced runners that everyone thought was going to win and just take the race. But he finished his last lap in 56 seconds, and he got the attention of many world leaders who shook his hand and congratulated him on his performance. And after the Olympics, he returned back and went to the University of Southern California and set a national collegiate mile record for 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And that record lasted for 15 years. It earned him the nickname the Torrance Tornado. In 1941, Zamperini enlisted in the United States Air Force to fight in World War II. He was posted in the Pacific, and his job was to fly planes as a second lieutenant. He was a bombarder on the consolidated B-24 Liberator bomber Superman. And in April of 1943, he participated in a bombing mission against the Japanese-held island of Nauru. Following that raid, his craft was attacked by 3 Japanese Zeros, and the bomber was severely damaged. 5 of the crew were wounded, one of whom died, and the New York Times wrote about this event, crediting him for giving first aid to the 5 wounded members and saving the lives on the return flight. With the Superman no longer airworthy, he was transferred to Hawaii, where he was reassigned to another B-24 Green Hornet, where he was supposed to go and find lost and found crew in the Pacific Ocean. A fun anecdote from his diary during this time: in May 1943, right before his last mission, he ran a mile under 4 minutes and 12 seconds on sand, which is just incredible. But Only a month later, on May 27, 1943, his plane had mechanical difficulties, which caused the bomber to crash into the ocean about 850 miles south of Oahu. It killed 8 of the 11 men on board. As one of 3 survivors, Zamperini, and then the pilot Russell Allen Phillips, and Francis McNamara, they survived with little food or water on a raft, and they floated there for 47 days. But on that 47th day, sadly, instead of being rescued by Americans, he was found by the Japanese Navy. They were held in captivity, severely beaten, mistreated until the end of the war. When Zamperini was finally able to return back to America, he received a hero's welcome because he had been classified as missing in action and then later killed in action. Franklin Delano Roosevelt even sent his parents formal condolences. So when he was found in the prisoner of war camp, everyone was very excited that he was actually alive because there had been no hint of it for almost 3 years. After he returned back to America, he married his longtime sweetheart. They eventually had 2 children, and they remained married until her death in 2001. Zamperini, after the war, struggled a little with what he had experienced, but he eventually found peace in forgiveness. He has written 3 books, and that is their main theme. He's returned back to Japan. He even ran just 4 days before his 81st birthday in 1998. He ran the last leg in the Olympic torch relay for the Winter Olympics. And it was not far from the prisoner of war camp where he returned. He visited. He also went back to the Berlin Olympic Stadium for the first time. He competed there in 2005. And he, after, in his 90s, became a huge fan of football. Became friends with Matt Barkley, the star quarterback of USC, and he just, in all, gave back to his community despite the wild life that he lived. Zamperini is remembered for his forgiveness despite the tragedies that he went through during his lifetime. If you want to read more, he has 2 memoirs. They're both by the same name, but with different co-authors and content. They're called Devil at My Heels. There's also a biography written about him called Unbroken, a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. And there's 2 films. The first film, Unbroken, it was directed by the Coen brothers and Angelina Jolie. It came out in 2018, and then in 2015 there is a documentary called Captured by Grace. With that, it's just important to remember the people who did not survive, but he did, especially during this Memorial Day. And it's nice to hear about the stories that show how much Americans can go through and the resilience. And I think he is a great example of that. And I hope you had a good time listening about his wild life.